Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. It's your boy Krabby. I'm here with R2. We are here to do some PR videos for the Underdog Draft League. This is a draft league that myself and Rolo came up with a couple months ago. We had season one that ended what was it, a couple months ago?
Yeah,
Jeez, I
about
already said
that.
a couple months ago twice now. um, it's a league that we wanted to get to force folks into using underrated Pokemon that you typically wouldn't use in a draft format. Um, and so the whole idea of this is to, yeah, exactly do what I said. You pick stuff that you wouldn't typically use in draft. You're not getting those Ubers and the annoying stuff. But today we're going to go over PRs for the Herdier Division. And I'm going to let Mr. R2 here, my friend who is helping me this afternoon or evening, go over our rubric on how we scored these PRs.
All right. So the rubric that we used here is the one that my good friend Ninjosh came up with last year when I did the Great Lakes Draft League PR videos, breaking down with 6 grades on a 3-point scale, number of strategies, do the static kind of strategy synergize, both offensive and defensive pressure, type spread, special, physical spread, and then support. We've, I've worked with Ninjosh a little bit on this as well, where we've kind of looked over everything. We've looked at successful teams, we've seen unsuccessful teams, and Ninjosh specifically really feels that this is a good rubric. And if you guys are into draft leagues or you're just maybe looking into one, I would definitely pause the video, get a snippet of this rubric, and use it as a guideline for future drafts. But without further ado, let's go on ahead and take a look at our first team, which is the Rhody Rhydons, coached by Mosh Pit.
Yep,
Um,
yep. And he is a new coach this season, brought in by Mr. Rolo himself, a coworker of his, I believe.
so with a overall
Go ahead.
average score of 10.5 out of 18 points, one of the things that I pointed out on his draft was the physical special spread. The scores that you see are averages between my scores and then Krabby's scores. So we both gave him a 1 on the physical special spread, and that is because he is severely heavy on one side. He doesn't have a lot of actual physical attackers or Pokemon that are able to hit physically. Krabby, what is one of the stats and grades that you wanted to touch base on for Marsh Pit?
I think what I really wanted to point out was the pressure that it adds. It doesn't add, I mean, it adds some pressure with that Nidoking and the Armoatisse and some stuff like that. You know, the live part is always adding that pressure that you need. But the things that got me was like things like Shedinja and Rapidash, where you're not super scared of them. I mean, Shedinja can be really frustrating if you let it be, but if you prep for it, it's pretty much just, it's always going to die in two turns. Um, Other than that, I mean, the rest of his team I really like. I really love Nidoking. I really love Aromatize. I think he did a really good draft, and I want to say this is his first draft ever. And if that is, I really do like it. I think that if he were to drop some stuff and maybe pick up a couple more special attackers, I think it would be really, really good.
Yeah, I really like the life hard with that prankster or fake tears into a sheer force life orb non Dynamax candidate of Nidoking because for those of you that may not know, sheer force boosts the damage output for attacks that have additional effects such as paralysis, burning, or freezing, like Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, and Flamethrower. But he loses that if he Dynamaxes. So that's why Nidoking's like a really good non-Dynamax candidate. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, one of the other things I noticed on this team is you take that away, doesn't I mean you're gonna Dynamax Dreadnought? So
Yeah, and
I
actually, I want to be honest. I don't think he's gonna keep that Dreadnought.
So I would love to see him pick up a Pokemon that he would want to Dynamax consistently, like almost. And I don't want to say matchup proof, a lot of Pokemon where it's like, oh, I can Dynamax this thing more often.
Mhm. Yeah, and like I was just saying, that being said, I know he didn't really want Dreadnought. I know he wanted like Dredagon or another like a dragon or something. If that's the case, yeah, get rid of that Dreadnought and get something with really good special attack that's worth Dynamaxing with that Liepard, and I think that could make this team go from this 10.5 up to a 13, 14 very easily.
Yes, so it'll be interesting to see what Marshpit does. And with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the second team, the Chicago Cub Foos, coached by Doug Tobster. I'm not too familiar with his experience outside of both Great Lakes Draft League, where he was in the Erie Division with me, and then this is the first time he's been in any of the UDL stuff. So, not necessarily a stranger to draft, but definitely a little wet behind the ears, I think, and that kind of goes with the drafting. Krabby, what's one of the things that you want to touch base on here?
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go with that type spread. I'm gonna steal that from you because I'm sure you really wanted to talk about it. Um, the electric types, man. I think that you went a little bit overboard on it. I think that the team is really cool. I think it has a really cool dynamic. I think that the Electivire you could probably keep, or actually, I think that that's probably the thing you would get rid of. But the Alolan Raichu and the Pincurchin, those of course those go together at all times. The Pincurchin and the Hitmonlee, those go together awesome. So that synergy is really really good there. I think Ditto is just Ditto. I really hope that you can do something with it, but it's one of those Pokemon where it's either a hit or it's a miss. So the
Yeah,
type
and
spread you can work on.
no, I fully agree with that. Actually, the thing that I want to touch base on was the overall strategy. Like outside of terrain, I don't know what he's necessarily going for. I mean, he's got a trick room mode with Bronzong, which again I think is fantastic in this format, but he doesn't really have a trick room sweeper. I mean, Electivire is too
Hmm.
fast, Lanturn's too fast, Ludicolo, like none of these are real true blue trick room sweepers. And then
Yeah.
again, you've got the terrain mode, which so what are you gonna do? Go Pincurchin, Hitmonlee, and then Hitmonlee to Rain Dance for Ludicolo to utilize Swift Swim. And
Yeah.
I think if you try to paint with a little bit of a broader brush, like Electivire, I've got in another league. He's that thing's doing damage, but I don't know if he has necessarily the pieces here. So Electivire, maybe a drop for a better tier 3. And then Lanturn, again, I don't necessarily know what he. I'm interested to see what he's got cooked up for this team
Yeah.
if he doesn't make
Yeah.
any changes.
Exactly. We never know. Maybe he's got a little hidden trick, and that's it. When it comes down to it, you guys remember that this is just based off what we're seeing with our eyes. We don't know what y'all are cooking in y'all's heads, so please take that and take everything we say to heart.
Oh, of course,
But
and
other
everything that
than
we're
that, I
saying
really do
again.
like this team.
Oh yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff here. I mean, again, it scored 10.5 out of 18 points.
Hmm.
The minimum points you're going to get is 6. So Toaster did a good job drafting. I mean, he got a 3 on physical special spread. So there's knowledge here. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next team, which will be the uh, Sapphire Solomons, coached by Kev. Um, I really like this team overall. There's a lot of interesting things, and again, he scored 11 points out of the 18, so there's definitely some good points here. The one thing that I would like to point out is the support, which was his highest grade with Pokemon like Umbreon, Ninetales, and even Bellossom and Hitmon top to a point, and then not to mention possibly the best support Pokemon in Tier 4, Charjabug. Um, Next to like a Rotom fan boosting those special attacks. I think there's a lot of options here where when if you got to prep for this, like do you go for the target, the offensive threat, or do you go for the support threat? And if he can get those reads right, he's probably going to be able to steal a game.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But yeah. Speaking of support, I wanted to bring up the Cheerum on its own. With the fact that he has Ninetales, that's awesome. So Flower Gift boosting that special defense, that's gonna help a bunch, a bunch, a bunch. Um, and with like things like Umbreon already being so bulky, that that could make it really, really difficult for people to break. But if we're gonna move on to something else, I want to talk about his synergies. That's what I'm getting into. The synergy is here. He's got her, I think, in my eyes, a really awesome definition of a UDL team. He went and he picked things that really meshed really well that you wouldn't use in draft in any other format. Things like Bellossom as your sun Pokemon, your chlorophyll user. That's really cool to me. He's going to be able to get some things off fast. I mean, its base speed is only 50, but that's 100. If he's sitting there with that and whatever, say it's gonna be fast. Let me just say that it can be fast,
Yeah,
and
he's
it could be a
definitely be
pain in
able
the
to
butt.
utilize it to EV and outspeed some stuff.
Yeah, and if you don't have a way to check that thing, it's gonna be even more of a pain in the butt. And if you prep for something like that, and he doesn't bring that, and he brings, another one, like say just cheer him as a support, and he's gonna use Ninetales as his max, you're gonna be in a pain, and you're gonna have a pain. Like it's gonna be hard. It's going to be a really cool team. I'm really excited for this team, and he scored an 11. The only
Yeah,
thing that I could suggest is maybe if you're going to drop something, maybe find something that's going to, just make that physical and special spread a little bit better, because that's a little on the low side.
the one that I feel like might be able to be dropped is actually Qwilfish. I mean, yes, it is an Intimidate mon, but it also gets Swift Swim, in which, I mean, unless you're going to use it as a counter swim or counter rain team, I'm not sure if it necessarily has a fit.
I can agree with that. I really do agree with that.
But let's go on ahead and move on up to the next team that scored 11.5, which is the Shadow Ducks, coached by Ed. So what do you got to say about this team, Krabby?
I think that this is going to be a really cool team. I think Clefable is going to be really cool to see how he's going to use it without Follow Me. I think maybe we kind of we did do his support. Maybe we rated it a little harsh, because looking a little bit more into it, it's actually not half bad. Coughing could be a pain in the butt. If he's up against, say, a weather team, brings that, and well, he's got things that are like, Ferrothorn, who are not wanting to be up against a Sun team that can come in and do quite a bit of damage.
So what I was gonna say
Uh,
was, with the support, I was looking at necessarily like how the pieces support each other. Like, yes, coughing can be a
mm-hmm.
pain in the butt. Purloin is a good support mod, but how is Gastrodon supporting Ferrothorn? How is Dugtrio supporting Golisopod? And again, Clefable in this league, we banned redirection. So Follow Me and Rage Powder are not a thing. So I
Yep.
don't. What is Clefable going to do on the support? It's probably going to be more offensive option here. I mean, because Unawares actually should be a very good ability for this format.
Most definitely. I've seen Max Clefable go in and go crazy. I've seen it sweep teams in a normal draft format. So yeah, no, I could see it being good. I think physically and specially wise, this team is really awesome. I really like it a lot. I think Ed, if you really keep your head into it, I think you can have a good season, buddy.
Oh yeah, no, definitely has a shot at making the bottom end of the playoff possibly. So
Agreed.
the next team we've got is the Glasgow Gardenovores, who is coached by Ace Max. And Krabby, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is Ace's first draft, or is this
No,
our
this is
singles players?
yeah, this is a she plays singles with me in another league. She's actually really, really good in singles. So I'm really excited to see how she can play here. But being said, I think that I'm actually very impressed with how she drafted. I'm gonna let you take over first, just because I don't want to put out a biased opinion.
No, again, we've got a 12.5 total score averaged out. I'm actually really interested to see what she'd be able to do with Butterfree. That was one of the Pokemon that I personally kind of had like, you know what, if I don't, as a safe goat, pick just to like
Mhm.
see what can going on, and then Toxapex is also another option where I'm intrigued to see what a singles player is going to be able to do with Toxapex in doubles. Um,
Mhm.
so, what's your biased opinion?
Okay, so I've seen this mixture before of Toxapex and Shuckle. I've actually seen Rolo use this in the season 1 of the VBA, and the first game he played with it, I had thought this dude was a maniac. Like, he brought it and he did some infestation and toxic stuff where he just beat down the team just in that own. But at first, whenever I was watching her draft, I was like, "Wow, girl, Allie, you're definitely drafting what I would think is a singles team." But the more and more I look at it, the more and more I see it really kind of synergizing the more and more. I've really, really liked this. I like the fact that Mimikyu is on this team. I think that that's a great Trick Room setter. I think that that's going to support that Flapple really well. I think I think Pikachu and Blaziken are going to be really underwhelming in this. I think that they're going to really, people can sleep on them a bit, but if that Blaziken gets, even say one speed boost up and you're not a way to stop that thing, it's going to go in on you. I really like her team. I think she did a really good job for her first single draft or doubles draft ever. Um, but that being said, I'm going to let you go ahead and finish this one off.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at it again as you were saying, and I think she went and got Pokemon that she was comfortable with. From because again, I have very limited singles experience, but again, I'm kind of getting a little bit of a vibe where she probably went to her bread and butters and Pokemon that she's got a good idea with, and exploring that option. And again, look at that type spread of 3.0. Um, Typically, that means that most, if not all, types are represented. There's not a lot of double taps, and she was able to cover her weaknesses. Like she's got two water types. She's also got two lightning rod users. And Rhydon, as
Yep.
you said, with Mimikyu for a Trick Room, that's gonna. I've seen Rhydon do work in
Yeah,
like
me too.
normal format. So I, I'm really intrigued to see how this one works.
Yep. Yep. I just want to say real quick, good job. You did a really good job for your first doubles draft. I like this team a
Oh,
lot.
you got the Krabby stamp of approval. All right, so the next team we're going to take a look at is the Carolina Berserkers, coached by Alligator, who also scored a 12.5 out of the 18. What is one of the things that you see from this team right away, Krabby?
I see lots, not lots, but I see just from the get go, when you doubled up on the typing, that's just not a typing that you really ever want to double up on. But this being a max format, I could see why you would. I really like that he went with a water or a rain mode, but I'm really surprised that you didn't draft Ludicolo. I know Ludicolo is on another team, but that was the rage that everyone was talking to. So what I want to get into is I want to talk about your support. There's some things that support each other, like Togedemaru and Pelipper that support each other, Togedemaru and Braviary that support each other really well. But outside of that, in your rain mode, there's not much that's really going to help each other out. You're missing a couple of key things that really help out good draft, which is, having your typings work together. So two of your Swift Swim users are both, similar in typing.
And that being Seismitoad and
You know,
Armaldalo, who's ground water and then rock
yes.
water. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit more support there, especially for the for the rain mode, because again, Togedemaru is there with that lightning rod. Can also be a sturdy mon to help like bring in those options. And then Armaldo actually has that awkward base speed where it can be a Trick Room mon in most matchups, with only Glade being your Trick Room setter on this team. That's where I'm a little weary. Um, is just with that, like there's not much of a Trick Room mode. We've got several options of go fast mode, and then you even got a little bit of justified action there with Glade. Um, but that is also why I gave this team a 3 on the strategies, because I actually see a lot of options, and like prepping for this team, you have no idea what mode's going to be brought, and how are you going to cover every option.
Does Rapidash not get Trick Room?
Oh, you're right. Rapidash does get Trick Room. Rapidash Galar does. Yeah, my bad. Rapidash is like
Yeah,
base
that's
100 speed. Like
probably.
getting Trick Room is dumb.
Oh
Um,
yeah. I mean, you're never gonna use it to set your Trick Room. Maybe that's something that we can definitely suggest for you, my friend, because he did just come from the VBA doing, I believe, his first draft league with us, and he did fairly well. But I think that that's something that you can take from this is maybe look finding a good solid Trick Room setter, because you do have the solid Trick Room sweepers. Double, we saw last season do a lot of work.
yeah.
Things like things like yeah, Tokoromaru under Trick Room could, well, maybe not so much, but Armaldo under Trick Room, that would be awesome to see. Even Seismitoad under Trick Room could be worth. So I mean, definitely look into maybe a good setter, or Trick Room setter slash sweeper would be awesome.
All right, and with that, we're going ahead and take a look at the next team, who is coached by Legacy, the Tokyo Tyranitar. Um, Came
Hmm.
in with a score of 13.5 out of 18. Krabby, what's something that you took away from this
That this is another guy that drafted a really cool team for only ever playing singles.
team?
um, I want to point out, man, your synergy is pretty good. There's some things that I saw, and I even personally messaged you, that I really like about your team. One of them is I'm a simp for Wheezing Galar. It's awesome. I love it. I think that it can do things that are unexpected. It's a max target. It's a support mon. It's awesome. Darmanitan, I'm really really excited to see. I'm very excited to see that. I think Crobat's really good on this team as a great tailwind setter. It's one of the best tailwind setters in this format. Kangaskhan is probably the best fake out user in this format. I think that there's some things on this team that mesh really, really well, and it's hard to pick this team apart. But if I'm going to say one negative thing about it, it's probably either Poltegeist or Shlinotic. I don't know what Shlinotic does, and Poltergeist, I don't like it.
So,
That's just my own opinion.
so Shlinotic is actually we saw Trunks take it in the Zacian division, and I think one of the big takeaways with that is that it is basically poor man's Amoonguss, especially with Rage Power being gone. It's like base 30 speed, um, so it's gonna help out with a lot of the Trick Room matchups. If you go for a fast mode and they bring Trick Room, Sonata can kind of like help stall out those Trick Room turns. So I think it's actually really good
Okay.
value for a tier 4 in this type of format. Um, one of the things that I would love to see on this team would be again, you've got some good Trick Room options, but not really a good Trick Room mode. It's kind of like hit hard, go fast, which I'm all for hyper offense, but
I mean, you
you,
do have Guzzlord there.
yeah, which is why I was saying there's options. Mr. Rhyme, I believe, is the only Trick Room setter on this team, and I even had to like double check on Showdown to make sure that was an accurate. So unless you're kind of planning on going hyper offensive, then have a Trick Room option in the back in case they go Trick Room. Um, and then you got Golduck there to break up any like rain teams or anything. Or you know, weather modes. So this team's definitely interesting. Unlike Ace, I'm not vibing. I'm not necessarily vibing. I'm not seen a lot of the single bias. There's like Buzzwole. I don't see often in the little bit of singles that I've seen. Darmanitan Galar with Tailwind Crobat. There's a lot of sauce here, and I'm interested to see what they're able to
Yep, yep. We'll bring up real quick. Orbeetle does get Trick Room also,
do. Okay.
but of course that's a base 90 speed Trick Room setter.
Which so basically, yeah, it gets it, but it's not going to be able to utilize it. All right. So
Exactly.
we'll go ahead and take a look at the next team here. So we are looking at the possessed Pumpkabos, coached by is it Yuko? So they got a 14 out of the 18 points, ranking in at the fifth highest score. I mean, I guess technically you could say tied for the fourth highest score. I'm
Technically,
interested.
it's tied for the second.
Well, as we'll see down the road,
Yeah.
um, they drafted a lot of the Pokemon that I had targeted or actually got or thought about getting. This is my Entei brother, so I'm interested to see how they utilize Entei. A Norvern was another Pokemon that I was looking at possibly getting. Throw, I actually did draft. Um, so and looking at it, I see a lot of different strategies. You got Mantine with Tailwind. You've got Sceptile with Unburden and a couple different ways to proc that. Alchemy is going to run alchemy things. I'm actually really excited to see which strategy they decide to bring each week, and that's one of the reasons why I gave it a 3.0. So what's one of the stats or something that you took away from this team, Krabby?
Yeah, so I just want to point this out. I did help this gentleman draft his team a little bit. I gave him some pointers because he's also another guy. I didn't play with him in singles, but he's only ever played singles as well, which is really cool and why I'm really excited about Herdier because there's a bunch of singles players who are converting over to doubles, and I love it. But I want to point out just a couple of things. Like you said, I really, really love just I love this team because, of course, I helped a little bit with it. I like how he his typings are all there. He's got such good support mons. Of course, I do think that there's some things that I think if he waits a little bit, he might be able to trade some other stuff off as other trades get put in that could really, really mesh with this team. I think his speed tiering is pretty well and good there. I think he's got a great Trick Room mode. I think with Throw and Trick Room is awesome. I think Alcremie is awesome. I mean, you're almost guaranteed Trick Room there. Entei is so much fun. Prankster, Meowstic. I think this is a really, really cool team, and I really hope he can utilize it really well and just take any advice that he can get about how to run this team because I really see this team doing well if he just takes advantage of any help he can get. But I think he's going to be a good coach to keep an eye out on. I think that the only Pokemon that I could see him trading off like any sort of right away type of deal is maybe Lopunny, or maybe trying to find something to replace maybe Magneton.
Magneton was going to be the one that I was going to suggest, maybe looking into other options for Low Bunny at tier 4. I don't know if you're going to get much better than that, but I'm sure there's probably something available in tier 3 that doesn't have a quad weakness to ground, which is one of the most common known moves out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's one of the most broken max moves ever. That and air
Max
move.
Quake.
Yep. Yep.
All right, and so with coming in at also 14 points out of the 18 is the Minnesota Milotic, coached by Grosset. Krabby, what do you see out of this squad?
Starbucks. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, right off the bat, you see Comfey Gudra, and that's scary in its own. And then you have what could be one of the best tailwind setters in Talonflame. As long as those Gale Wings are there, it's pretty much guaranteed. Just don't let it get faked out. Uh, I think that the Cradilly is going to be really cool. I think he could do some pretty cool stuff with Storm Drain there. Um, if we're gonna be honest, I think his Trick Room mode might be a little weak. There's also some things that I could see him trading. He's also another gentleman that's mainly prioritized in singles. Uh, I'm really excited to see what he could do with this Crawdon. I think if there's really not much when we get higher up on this list. There's not much based off of the strategy, synergy, pressure, and stuff like that that I can really point towards. I think
Well,
if I do, I think it would be to find a couple better supporting mons for each other, because I think having things like um, Persian, I think you could. I know it's a tier 4, but you almost get the same thing that Persian can do a bunch of supporty stuff, like actual supporty stuff, and then Mr. Mime does the same but different supporty things.
I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I'm really excited for is to see, like, I'm not gonna say it because I don't want to give away any potential secret tech, but I will simply say I'm excited to see what he's able to do with a his tier 1 with one of his tier 4s. I'm excited to see if that's a thing, because if that was
Oh,
my
it is,
team,
and
that would be a thing.
it's a very simple idea. Am I wrong?
You are not wrong.
I'm catching your drift.
So one thing I would say is, and like you mentioned, as we get higher up in these scoring, the finding the flaws are going to be rather difficult because again, look at the scores. This was a 2.0, 2.5, or a 3.0. Those are the three highest scores we've got, that we can
And
give
there's
out.
nothing to
And
pick
so
at.
a fantastic draft. I think there's a lot to be excited here for. I mean, we're saying you're a top 4 team score wise anyway to begin with, which makes playoffs. So so
Yep, I hope
now,
he has a really good season, and I could see him having a good season.
with the squad he's got, I I would expect a good season out
Uh,
from Barossa. So
Most definitely.
let's go ahead and take a look at the first team that scored 15 points. We have three of them, so that's technically a three-way tie up for third. And that first one is the Clifton Clefables, coached by the co-owner Rolo himself. Krabby, I'll let you talk more about this team because I think you got a little better idea what Rolo may or may not have been
Uh, Something that should have been in Zacian.
cooking.
And I only do that because I like to pull his leg. No, Rolo, man, this is a typical team that I love for you, man. This is a really cool team. I'm really excited for you to do some stuff with it. There's some things that me and you have talked about where I'm like, yeah, dude, I used that a while back, and I used that a while back. I'm excited to see how you use it, and there's things like Skuntank and Lurantis that I love personally. Those are two of my most favorite Pokemon to use in draft because they're just well, Lurantis is not underrated, but Skuntank is very underrated. Not a lot of people look at it at tier 4 as really good. Stunfisk is awesome. I think if I'm gonna be, I can be a little bit more picky on him just because me and him have that relationship, and I can be that way towards him. Uh, I think that you're maybe try and find something, maybe one more deal to go into your fast mode, because your fast mode's really, really dependent on two in general, being Bathyphion and Indeedee. Um, I think if you can find one more Mon to go with these two, it's going to be really, really good. Besides Tornadus. I know Tornadus is great, but its ability is also poop. Regenerator in doubles is not great. If you can find one more decent, really fast Mon other than Slurpuff also, I think I would really, really love your team. Avalo is going to be awesome. I think you did a really good draft. I'm very impressed with your draft, Rolo, and I'll give you a big double thumbs up, buddy.
One thing I will say is like Regenerator's decent if you have those pivot options, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not really seeing any like volt switches or parting shots or even the new turn flip, the new move flip turn. Because as we've seen before in VGC, like Amoonguss and Incineroar, great synergy with each other because you're wanting to play pivot with them anyway. One of the things that I was actually really really shocked about, and we talked about it before, is Wishy-Washy. Why is that thing not used more? Have you seen the stats on that thing? Like,
Oh,
I
dude, it's broken,
I
man.
I don't understand. That thing should be used much more often, especially in draft where you can support it correctly. If that's the mode you decide to go to. So my next draft I've claimed I will draft Wishy Washy because I have ideas for it after seeing the
Yeah.
stat the support, like the move pool and everything. That thing's a beast. I'm excited to see what Rolo's able to do because Rolo has done very well with good teams in the couple leagues that I've been in, couple seasons I've been in with him. So I'm not surprised that he drafted a team that was scored, tied for the highest score. But I do feel that he's a little tunnel vision on the strategies, unless there's stuff that I'm missing. Hence why only a 2.0 on it. Maybe find
Hmm.
something that can broaden that rush just to make it that much more difficult for people to prep.
And I do want to add, man, I'm really, really sad that y'all are in separate divisions because anytime y'all are together, I just see this rivalry in y'all's eyes when y'all play each other, and it's just great.
Well, maybe we'll have to do a contest of champions of some sort, and if we can both win our leagues or something.
How about y'all both just make it to playoffs and meet each other in playoffs?
I guess that works too.
Yep, yep.
All right, so we'll take a look at our second team that scored 15 points, which is the Latchkey Kids, coached by Leaf. I've seen Leaf around in other leagues that I've been a part of. I don't believe we've ever played or ever been in the same division, but I definitely recognize the logo. And I from those leagues, I'm really not surprised that he was able to draft such a strong team. Synergize, type spread, physical, special spread, support. Like those are all like huge aspects of this team. I'm not. Only thing that I'm a little iffy on evil, and that's only because is there a really good consistent way to set up a burden for it? Unless you're gonna run away. So
No,
I don't
no.
know if there's better options for a tier 4 at that point, unless Leaf has got some secret tech that he's gonna expose us all to.
And he might. So I know Leaf, and I've known Leaf for a really long time. I've played with him, shoot, man, multiple leagues, multiple seasons. Let me just say that. And Leaf is one of those coaches where if you sleep on him, he's gonna kick your butt. Uh, Fantastic drafter, and it's awesome because this is not his typical draft, and I love it. Leaf is a normally he drafts hard Perish Trap. That is not the case in this, and I love it. I am so excited to see him do some stuff. Um, I love Heracross. I love Flareon. I love Skarmory. I love this team. And I was going to say, as soon as you said it, if you were going to trade anything on this team, get rid of Thievul. Don't get me wrong, Thievul is also great because you do have multiple terrain setters in your division. I could see it doing well. But that being said, Leaf, kudos, brother. This is a kick-ass team. Pardon my French on your channel, my friend. But, dude, I love your team. You did a great job, and I'm very excited to see you do well.
And also, I want to point out the order in which the ties have been. It's not necessarily saying that we think the Latchkey Kids are better than the Clifton Clefables. Just the order in which it happened to fall into
Right.
place. So the
But no, I love this team.
And so the last team we're going to take a look at is the third team that has scored 15 points. Those of you that are familiar with the Underdog Draft League may have figured it out. It is the Dundee Dunsparce, coached by Raspberry himself.
The Dundee Dung Beetles.
The I know you and I have talked about this before. This is your typical hardcore parish team with like two. He's got two or three parish songers. He's got two or three trappers. And he's also got like Bear Arctic or Pecco and Polyrath, where it's like, oh, these things can take advantage of non parish song options. The strategies, the synergies, the type spread, the physical spread. There's a reason why this thing got 4 3s. The biggest issue that I have with the team overall is just like that pressure. It's the only pressure that he really is showing that I'm seeing. Obviously, correct me if I'm wrong. Is just the Parasong mode. Okay, you got to get rid of the Gothitelle for Shadow Tag. You got to get rid of the Paris Singer before it sings. Like that's kind of the only pressure overall that I'm getting a vibe from. What are your thoughts?
Um, I agree with that for the most part. I see some really hard pressure with his rain mode between Beartic. Of course, that ain't the fastest rain mode user, but Polyrath is a very, very underrated Swift Swim user. That if you start letting that thing get a hold of you, you're done. And when I say you're done, you're done. Like it is good, it's fast, base 70, 140 in the rain with base, no investment. That's nothing to scoff at. I mean, it's cool, it's good. I mean, fairly bulky, 90 HP, 95. I mean, it's a good solid mon. Wigglytuff, I think that's gonna be really cool competitive wise. I'm excited to see it if it goes offensive. I mean, it's not bad offensive. Base 70 is not bad. Of course, this is one of those things. Like, I'm one of those guys where if I see anything above 80, shoot, man, Garchomp. If I see Garchomp, right, I will run it both ways. I don't care. Garchomp's one of those Pokemon where it's like,
Yeah, Garchomp's like
Garchomp's
base
base
92,
special attack is 80. 80. That you can still run it that way. Like it's not gonna be bad. But also, so like this is the thing too. Like Delmise in this team is gonna be really good. Um, but to be honest, the one thing that I'm gonna really, really get in is possibly a good Trick Room setter. I mean, Gothitell's really good at Trick Room, but even then, I mean, other than that, if you can't get it set up with Gothitelle, you're kind of screwed. Um, but I like this team. I think it's gonna be really cool. I'm excited to see him do something with Morpeko because I haven't actually seen it used in draft. I'm also really hoping that you can use this Altaria. I think if you trade anything, that's probably what it is. Because if you accidentally gin this team and you accidentally get Cloud9 and you're bringing your rain mode, you just screwed yourself. So maybe if that's something you have an idea for, look into that. Just keep that in mind. But other than that, Raz, this is probably my favorite team you've ever drafted.
Um, only move that I would suggest is maybe dropping Bear Arctic or Polyrath because they both kind of do the same thing. They're both that physical potential Swift Swimmer option. Maybe again, like you said, find a trick room setter slash sweeper that can give you just that other option instead of Gothitelle. But guys, that is the Herdier Division for the Underdog Draft League. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Definitely keep an eye out for further content from all our creators. I do believe there's several people that plan on doing videos of their matches. I will not be one of them. Check out Krabby's Twitch. I'll put the description down below. And if you guys have any questions or concerns or comments, definitely make sure to hit them down below as well. Until next time, guys. Bye.